I love bittersweet things. I find there's great wisdom to be learned from those moments, both in life and in movie. The end of something is as beautiful as the beginning of something.
Can you give me an example of you trying to find positivity consciously?
If you need to really convince someone to work with you,
Mm-hmm.
then your project is not strong enough.
How did you improve your writing skills and your storytelling skills?
How do you become good at skateboarding?
You just skate.
Exactly. I used to hate script writing because I didn't feel as connected with the story I was writing. I've been able to create this space, this mental space that I can take everywhere with me.
What have creative projects done for your mental health?
Loads. It's gonna sound crazy, but I have a better idea of who I am and who I want to be because of that.
Leo,
Hi.
why don't we get into a bit of your background and what inspired your creative journey?
God. Yeah. Well, to kick it off, I guess I'm coming from a family of artists, if I may. My dad is a graphic designer, and my mom is worked in the culinary arts. She studied in the culinary arts, basically.
Yep.
So yeah, from a young age, they exposed me to a ton of media and content. Content. Sorry. Content that basically touches on music, cinema, visual arts. So I guess I was kind of exposed to anything and everything.
Do you feel like you were forced?
In some ways, for sure. But today I've come to appreciate it for sure. For instance, my taste in music and my music knowledge mostly comes from my dad because he was always music was a big part of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I was raised. Sorry, and for instance, it would always play in the background whenever I was at home. Always something playing. Some families have a television playing.
Yeah.
Well, for me it was music, nonstop. So I guess all the genres, any artists. So I kind of always associating music to my home, I guess. So it's a big part of who I am. Yeah.
So at times when you listen to music, you feel like you're at peace or you're
totally
at home.
Yeah, hell yeah. And it overarched into basically music being the most prominent thing that influences me when I create, because it puts me in some kind of state. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like my own protected universe, basically.
Interesting. What is a song that you can recall that can usually put you in a creative spirit or creative world?
Do you mean growing up or recently?
Recently, or any song that you can think of.
Okay. Well, the last movie I wrote and ultimately directed was written with the latest album of Patrick Watson playing in repeat, basically, nonstop. And I don't know, his music at the time put me in that mental state where I could really connect with the characters and the emotions I was writing in my script. Basically, it was spot on what I was looking for.
How so?
Well, Patrick Watson in most of his songs has a beautiful melancholic aspect to it, and I think that it rhymes well with most of the things I'm trying to write in general, because I guess it's a big part of who I am. Also, appreciating sadness and finding beauty in it. I love bittersweet things, to be honest. I find there's great wisdom to be learned from those moments in life, both in life and in movies. It creates great reflections for sure.
What is something you have learned from you said there's great wisdom in bittersweetness?
Yeah, for sure. What is something I've learned? I'd say when you lose someone, some people could choose to be mad about it, right? Or despise that person, or
right.
Or if in the case that they died, just get hung up on them for a long, long time and
Yeah.
drown themselves into this sadness.
Hmm. It's hard for them to come over
Totally,
that grief.
totally. But I feel like the end of something is as beautiful as the beginning of something.
Explain.
Right. So it closes the parenthesis basically. It creates this film roll, for instance, this perfect moment that'll live on in your brain forever. It cannot be hurt anymore. It's just like it happened, and now it's a little movie of its own. You just get to live on your life and keep within yourself. And most of the time, if you really think back on it, I'm sure most of us can learn a great deal for past experiences. And that's why we usually say, there's good in anything, and we can learn from anything, basically. There's a lesson to be learned in everything.
There's a lesson to be learned in everything.
Yeah.
Is that how you go about life, really?
Yeah, because I feel like it's an unpredictable thing. It truly is. And we as growing beings, we need to keep our heads on the positive sides of things. And sometimes it's hard because it's not really something we can, like the events for themselves, we can't really control them. It's like they're happening to us. And I think the only thing we can control is our reaction to those events. Therefore, I think we should try to find goodness and positivity in everything that happens to us in order to learn quicker, to move forward quicker, and to basically become the person we need to be quicker.
You said that you try to find positivity in a lot of things.
Yep.
Right? You try to find positivity in a lot of things. Can you give me an example of you trying to find positivity consciously
For
when
sure.
things were not going your way?
Yeah, for sure. One of the good examples that actually happened to me and I could give you would be for my last movie. It was really complicated to finish the post-production aspect because the whole of my crew was really busy on other things, on contracts and on with school and everything because, life happens. So basically, for a while, I was kind of frustrated by that because I couldn't finish the project I had started just yet. And we finished it actually a month ago now, a project we shot in December. So just so you know, it's it's a big gap.
Yeah.
But I've came to appreciate it because it gave me the chance to really meditate on the mistakes I had made or the mistakes I had to correct ultimately in the project. So I was allowed to have to take this step back to just, think about what I could do better to improve my ultimate, the version of the produce I wanted to push out eventually. See what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is tough because when you're in some sort of a leadership position and you don't have the ability to pay people that are helping you out,
Yeah.
you don't really have enough. Like it's hard to, not necessarily
Get people committed.
get
for
people
sure.
committed. Exactly.
No, it's truly it's a very big challenge, and it's one I'm tackling every day. But I feel like we're getting there. Personally, as my career moves on, I feel like more people are gonna see value in what we create, and I guess the commitment is gonna come with that. And this type of because I feel like when there's value to something, for especially like in cinema, which is basically a collaboration art, it attracts people that want to improve and see value in what you do and respect your craft, or just they're gonna storm you basically, and proposition like offers are gonna come your way. That's how I see it.
So personally, if you would say someone who is not getting the help that they need, they need to work on the vision of the project and the foundation of the project so it attracts people to be
Basically,
part of it.
Exactly, because I feel like if you have to convince someone, like really, really convince
Okay.
like someone to work on a project with you, For instance, if it's a script you wrote or somebody else's and you want to direct it, but you need a crew, and that don't like only applies to doesn't only apply to cinema, but
Right.
and so basically what I'm saying is, if you need to really convince someone to work with you,
Mm-hmm.
then your project is not strong enough. That's how I see it. It's like if you can push out, like if you can write a script that's good enough, where other people will see value to it and they want their names in it. You see what I mean?
Yeah. When did you realize this?
Um, well, I guess we learned by doing it ourselves, by experimenting, basically. So my last project, I was able to convince, well, not really convince, but I pitched the project to a known actress in Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
She's, well, she's getting there for sure. And she directly accepted the offer just because she loved the title of that said movie, and she read the script and she fell in love with the characters and the overarching story. So I really didn't have to add words or just like a whole ass paragraph to
Do you want to kind of tell what it's about?
what it's about. Yeah. So the next movie that is coming out is called Rose Névrose, or I guess that translated in English to Pink Nephrosis.
Pink nephrosis.
Nevrosis, yeah.
Okay, and what does that mean? Sorry, I interrupted you.
For sure. I guess the word pink is just like the color we associated with her mental breakdown, basically. And a nevrosis is basically that. It's kind of a state where everything falls apart and you just snap completely.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of a mental burnout.
Okay.
Yeah. So what that's about, without revealing anything, well, without being too much revealing about the true meaning of the project, I guess I could say that it's mostly about the relationship between two sisters that haven't seen each other in a while, and they're just coming to terms with little things that they had going on in their relationship before that both hurt them. So it's they're
With
kind
their
of
past.
yeah, exactly. They're coming together to mend their relationship after being separated for a year now.
Great choice of words. Mend.
I try.
You're a writer.
Well, I guess vocabulary comes mostly through reading. Comes to you like that.
You were not born as a prolific.
Prolific. I think. I think that's
You were not born as an amazing writer, right? How did you improve your writing skills and your storytelling skills? Because I feel like that is one of the main pillars of cinema.
Yeah, for sure. I guess any good project kicks off with a good story, right? So then you need to figure out what kind of story do you want to make, right? For me, what I'm really interested in right now is the psychological aspect of human beings. I really love that. Like, for instance, there's something I like to say, which is everybody says something. Well, no, let me backtrack.
Yeah,
actually, whenever someone talks, they have either a subconscious or a conscious intent or objective they need to accomplish, basically.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm saying that no one ever says anything for nothing. There's always an overarching objective to accomplish, right?
Okay, so that could be
To get something, to share an information. See what I mean?
So you think there's always some kind of pleasing of self happening.
Absolutely.
Whenever there's
communication going.
words
Words coming out of a mouth, basically. That's all it is. There's always something.
Makes sense, yeah.
So that way, I can just take this as a center point to my writings and just try to apply the mental background of the character. Like, for instance, what is my character number 1 trying to accomplish by saying this? What is she getting at? What is he getting at? What's the end game here? You know? What's the flow of the scene? Where do I want it to start, and where do I want it to end, or need it to end, right? So it creates kind of this this flow, this mental flow of both characters, where their objectives in a discussion, in dialogue, they're very much intertwined, and they kind of end up dancing closely together, and it can go either way. It's up to you. It's up to the writer ultimately. But yeah, it is a center point to my writing, human psychology. I feel like it's the best way to go about it, to end up with dialogue that feels real. That's a big thing. I really am a fan of authentic dialogue. You know, something that really sounds like someone could say it.
Something that has some sort of relatability to it.
For sure,
Is what you're
relatability
saying?
and just
Okay.
like authenticity and in general, just like yeah.
Well, but that is something that helps you with storytelling
Mm-hmm.
or the passion that you have for writing.
For sure.
How does one become a better writer?
Right. Sorry, we kind of got off track.
No,
there.
that's okay.
Jesus, what a tangent. For sure. I guess to become a greater writer, you just have to write. And I know I've written like, so pardon my language, shit stories for sure.
Oh no, you can swear.
Oh, for sure.
Shit.
Oh, amazing. Wow. I'll get comfier then.
Yeah.
Fuck. So yeah, to become a greater writer, ultimately you just have to write.
Okay.
It's like, how do you become good at skateboarding?
You just skate.
Exactly. It's the same thing for writing. I feel like reading is also a great advice there, to just like look at other people's art and try to learn vocabulary that way, like we were saying earlier, or just inspiration in the way they show emotion or describe a scene, for instance. But I guess it is kind of different, since scripting is different. It's very different from writing a book or a novel. But in some ways, it's very similar when it comes to improving.
Okay.
And yeah, so like I was saying, you just have to write, and eventually pick up on some things you like. It's just like discovering your style. And basically, I've learned everything I know, mostly from, I'm self-taught, basically. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, with the help of your parents, just a bit, or no?
Even then, I guess maybe my dad with graphic design for sure, and like the way I've come to appreciate some artistic choices for sure.
Okay.
But mostly in my writing, I was mainly focused on teaching myself how to better myself, and that's through internet, for instance. Just like, I think YouTube is a massive part of our generation's learning patterns, because there's anything and everything on there. You can just pick up a skill in a week if you really want to, just by looking things up.
Were you vividly searching for how to become a better writer and looking at tutorials in terms of like how to become a better writer?
Not necessarily tutorials, but I think working professionals are a great resource, and there's a great load of that on YouTube. For instance, like script writers or directors or photographers, graphic designers. You could just like sit there and watch those people who have industry experience tell yourself how it worked for them, basically. What did work for them? See what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
not saying that their version has to be taken like 100% to the book, like to every word that they say. You need to respect that.
Right.
I feel like everything is to be taken with a grain of salt and then applied to our own situation. But I feel like there's a great advice to be taken there, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can, whatever field you're in, if you're looking at professionals, you can learn something.
It's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay. Would you say if there wasn't so I assume that you have a lot of passion when it comes to writing
Mm-hmm.
and scripting.
Yep.
If someone doesn't have the passion, it's very hard for them to improve, because it is
Really
something
is.
that requires a constant practice.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And the thing is, actually, I wasn't always passionate about it. I used to hate script writing because I didn't feel as connected with the story I was writing. and until I found my kind of the niche I'm in right now, which is basically psychological dramas. It's really fun to write. Actually, I was quite surprised. And I was always saying it's really fun to have the mental state of the characters like intertwine and just act as a silent soundtrack to the whole movie, because it mostly comes into the acting part of things, because it's not words, it's just like the emotion that jumps and like spikes and comes down depending on what they say, right? And what they mean and what the intent is behind every word.
What makes a good story?
God, that is actually a very broad question. What makes a good story?
Okay, what makes a story that will be
Engaging?
that will be relatable?
Relatable. Then again, very broad, because
Very broad. Okay, let's go back.
relatability depends on everyone, right?
That is true. Okay, let's talk about the favorite character you have developed.
Okay. Right on. The favorite character I've developed is called Anna.
Anna.
She's really tormented by her past and her relationships with her bigger sister, for instance. That's basically a character from the movie that's coming out soon.
Okay.
And yeah, there's this beautiful human complexity I've somehow achieved to push into her character, where she's very sensitive, but also just so angry about stuff. So you can see in the face of the actress too, which has done a wonderful job for real. Like she's out of this world, where we can see basically the spikes of emotion in Anna's face when she said something too mean, and then she realizes it and just she needs to back off because she let her emotions and her impulsivity get the better of her, basically.
What inspired that character?
Myself.
Anna inspired. No, Leo got inspired by Anna.
No, I'd say the opposite, actually, because if I would transform my personality from a character I wrote, would be kind of weird. But I feel like most of the characters and the stories, the story aspects I write usually are things that have happened to me.
So how did you get inspired by the Anna story or the character?
Just basic human interactions, basically, like big clashes between me and other people, social aspects where you disagree with someone and you both need to part ways or something like that. Some intense arguments, or even breakups. Like it can be anything, anything and everything. It all comes down even to the smallest part of a sentence that somebody has told you before, and it kind of always stayed with you in a way where it can represent that same mental state you were in at that time. So applying that to a character and then explaining to the actress or the actor what you want from that line, kind of is reminiscent and basically is a callback to whatever you lived in your life, right? It's not necessarily like a 1-to-1 ratio? That's what I'm saying. It depends.
Okay. So you have to be on the constant lookout for different stories.
For sure, man. I love doing that so much. And that's another thing I've become really good at, is analyzing people. With that same rule of people, I've always like an end goal in mind. Basically, if you keep that in mind and then proceed to engage in discussions, or just like go sit in the park and turn off your headphones and you just listen to other people's conversation and you take notes, I guess that kind of is creepy in a way, because it's eavesdropping, but I guess it passes for a writer for sure, because and it has for sure it has given me like great dialogue options. I was sitting at this diner the other day, and I decided to go eat alone there, which is something I never do, and I actually loved it, to just like sit in silence and be with myself. It was kind of cool. And I overheard the waitress talking with another colleague of her that just came back to work there actually, and she was talking about how a previous coworker of theirs went out one night of the diner. She stood on the stairs, on the steps of the restaurant, lit up a cigarette, and she died.
Wait, we gotta go back.
See? How can you make this up? There's so much like richness in real events, real people talking. There's like a texture and the choice of words and in their expressions, and it happens in the heat of the moment, and sometimes you just need to capture that. And there's nowhere else on earth you can find this kind of inspiration than just basically out in the world. You just meet real people that have very complex lives and reason to go by their day and everything. So you basically come in contact with those people that have lived completely like lives completely in parallel with yours, and without never crossing. And this one time something happens and you guys are both present. See what I mean? It's kind of capturing those fleeting moments.
Do you have to be a certain kind of person to be able to catch these stories, develop characters?
I guess
was it something you were born with?
Well, I guess this is kind of bold for me to say, but I will try to express it in the best way possible. I think one of my greatest strengths when it comes to my writing is that I've always been a very sensitive person. I guess I was born with this sensitivity, and I've come to terms with it. I used to hate it, and now I see it as a strength, because it makes me so connected with the things I feel, and I understand how I react to things, which has allowed me to get rid of my impulsive side and only keep the fun impulsivities.
What do you mean by impulsive side? Like OCD?
No, impulsive side, kind of anger, for instance, or just like lashing out on things that don't really matter, or see what I mean? Just focusing my energy elsewhere.
That's what you meant by sensitive.
Sensitive in the fact that things get to me, or I can sense things more clearer. For instance, I have I'm connected with my emotions and other people's emotions. I guess it kind of, I guess the proper word would be empathy then.
Yeah.
But both you of those things, exactly, can understand.
You can understand emotions.
Exactly, and both of those skills really help when it comes to writing characters and understanding what makes good dialogue, for sure, because you need to put yourself in the shoes of those characters, and it's really tied with acting too. Because in acting, it's the same thing. You really have to be empathetic and very sensitive to the overarching evolution of the emotions in a scene. It works in parallel with writing, for sure.
Have you always been this good looking?
To follow up on that joke, I'd say my mom would say yes. I would say no. But I guess I'm just too self-conscious about things. But thank you.
Yeah.
Have you?
No.
See?
I was very ugly.
Well, I have had a glow up for sure. Shout out to me in secondary one. High school one was a tough year for me. I had long hair and always wearing like those striped dress shirt.
Yeah.
Fuck, man, rough.
Were you wearing a shirt underneath?
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah.
No, I did the same thing. I did the exact same thing.
You know those flannels looking ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, God. Jesus Christ. Why was my mom letting me go out of the house like that?
I mean, more specifically, your dad, he was a graphic designer.
Mm-hmm.
So he was
an
artist. Come on,
Yeah. But he took a step back from how we dressed. It was mostly my mom. She had like well, my sister and I, she had like maniacal fun to go about and just make us little outfits that she thought was cute.
Oh.
She was right in some ways, but from my tastes right now, yeah, I'm just glad I've developed my own style for sure. I feel better this way than my little striped dress shirts, flannel looking.
Were you wearing like chinos?
Yeah, yeah, actually, and
Yeah.
no, exactly that.
Chinos and flannel looking.
And you know
tight
those
shirt?
pants with the elastic bands? On
Oh
the
yeah, in
bottom?
the bottom, bro. Everybody wore that.
Yeah,
People
for
in
sure.
Saskatchewan still wear them.
Really?
I swear to God,
The word hasn't gotten up to them?
I guess not.
Fuck, that's rough. Shit, somebody needs to call them and be like, yo, this shit is off. Take them off, my friend. Burn them.
Yeah, no. I guess. Yo, I have a. So when I was researching on you,
Yep.
I rewatched all of your films,
Oh, cool.
or as many as I could,
Mm-hmm.
and then I loved. I liked a lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
but one that stood out to me was Electric Love.
Really?
Yeah,
God.
and there was a scene
Mm-hmm.
where you were on the bench and you kept moving
Yeah.
to a side,
Mm-hmm.
or you kept like scooching.
Yeah.
Does that explain it?
Yeah, for sure.
So what was that about?
What was that about? It was a creative choice. Me and my best friend, my creative best friend, Adam Burton, me and him made back in 2000. What year was it? 2020? Probably
Yeah.
like that.
Shout out Drinking Giraffe.
Yeah, drinking giraffe. My fellowship, my fellow artist. So yeah, basically this movie, Electric Love, the one you're talking about, was made in 13 hours. It was in the frame of a 24 hours film challenge where we just had the genre was given to us at 6 in the morning, and we had to hand it in before 6 the day after.
Where was this? In
Dawson College.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it was a competition, and that specific choice that we made was an idea I got just like that, and because I guess when you're starting out in filmmaking, it's something I'm straying more and more away from, and I'm glad-ish from it. It's improvisation, right?
Okay.
I feel like most of my early projects were always nearly 100% impro, and that isn't good. Because when a lot of people are included in the project, or a lot of funding, for instance, everything needs to be calculated to every penny there is to spend, or every second of the shoot, to basically make sure that nothing is wasted, people's time, money, resources. So it's kind of as you get more and more professional, you kind of stray away from those very rookie-like methods of going about and making movies, basically, which is improv. But
Financials improv.
exactly.
Okay.
But I think there's a great richness that can come of it, and even the greater filmmakers, for instance, there's always like some really good scenes
Mm-hmm.
in their movies, and I can name a few that are totally improvised, and they've kept it in because it was this one moment that wasn't prepped before, but it just happened. And
Can you tell me?
for sure, I guess the first one that comes to mind would be in the movie Django from Quentin Tarantino. There's this one scene where Leonardo DiCaprio's character just smacks the table
Mm-hmm.
really hard. He gets angry, and the actor opened his whole hand on a wine glass, basically.
Oh.
He shattered it, and he began bleeding everywhere.
And
So
that was
So he just kept it like that.
Leo.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. He just smashed it, and he kept going. And then one of their fellow actors there on shoot realized that he was bleeding, so he just like gave him a napkin, and he just like continued acting like as if nothing had happened.
I want to watch that scene after.
Yeah, let's do that actually.
What about? Can you think of another one?
Improvised. God, from the top
Titanic,
of my head right
when
now.
Leo was drowning.
not sure it was improvised, but it doesn't make sense to me still. There was
No.
clearly room, like, for at least 3 people on that plank. Like, please.
You think?
Oh, God, yeah. But I think it's mostly because of the... Sorry?
I said that's a controversial.
I'm known for my controversies, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to respond to what you were saying on improvised scenes, I guess I'll need to think about it further.
Okay.
And you know what? I'll cut you off if I think of anything. But yeah, I think that's it for now.
Beautiful. Sounds good.
All right.
So, in one of your films,
Mm-hmm.
I saw a quote that said, "In the past, I was told the youth will save the world,
Mm-hmm.
but who will save them?" Talk about
Yeah.
that quote and what
Um,
inspired it, and what
okay.
do you like? Why that? It stood out to me.
It did.
It did.
Well, I'm glad it did. Did it make you think of something? Did you have a
It did.
reflection on it? Yeah.
You want me to talk about it first?
I'll introduce it if you want.
Beautiful.
So the name of this said project is called Jeunesse Terminale in French, and in English would be called Terminal Youth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is kind of a very dramatic way to say that we are becoming adults,
Yeah.
right? And this very specific video essay I made was using... Do you know who was in the footage of that video?
You were.
No. It's footage of my dad's years as a teenager.
No way.
Yes. Actually,
It's all your dad?
it's all my dad and his friends.
I thought the person that had a long-ish, medium type hair, that was you.
No, that's my dad. We look alike.
Oh, so
Yeah.
that's where you get your
Yeah,
good
it's crazy.
looks from.
Well, I guess I'm taking my dad tonight for sure. But yeah. So I guess to me, comparing my experience as a growing human being, if I may, and making parallels with his experience, I don't know. It just made sense. Because it makes you think that the story repeats itself. Other people have already
Lived.
lived those same events,
Yeah.
and they're fine. So we will be fine. But to go back on the sentence, you just said. Actually, I'm quite curious now to know what you wanted to say on it.
In the past, I was told the youth will save the world, but who will save them?
Preach. Whoever said that.
Okay, so when I
Lay it on me.
said that, when I heard that,
Mm-hmm.
it made me think how our new generation is going to fix a lot of the fuck-ups that were done in the past.
Okay.
But the new generation is already fucked up. So who is going to save the
Guess
new
we
generation?
are. Yeah.
I don't know, that's just how I thought about it. Maybe it's too artistic, maybe it's
No,
this and
it's
that, but
exactly
it's
how
me.
I intended it, for sure. I guess the way I saw it is that we are left our generation. Are we Gen Z?
yeah,
Are we? Yeah, I guess so. Our generation
I think so.
is left by other generations with so many issues on our hands. Don't you agree? Like, so many things we
Yeah.
need to solve, and all of that plus our own existence and the basically state of our world, and I feel like we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot on our hands, for sure. And I feel like our generation is, well, from what I can see, there's a lot of people that are suffering mentally. It's a really, really lonely age for a lot of people. And I feel like there's not enough resources to take care of us, basically. So we're kind of just silenced and pushed aside, and they expect us to just like put up with anything to just eventually take our place in society. As
And
we
that
can
cycle
see,
will repeat.
exactly, and then people repress their emotions, and it's just like a never-ending cycles of fuck-ups, and we never get anywhere. So that's how I see it. I feel like something needs to change in the resource departments, like mental health and health issues, for sure.
What is something that our generation should fix by your vision, or from your vision?
Something we should fix.
Because you talked about, or I said like how we're fucked up,
Mm-hmm.
and how things have been. No, what did I say? I said that we have been given a lot of fuck ups that we need to fix, and you agreed on it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think some of those fuck ups are?
I not to be cliche, but environment issues, environmental issues are massive in our age, and I feel like we need to do more. And eventually, like for sure, there's some ways to respond to it are gonna actually come and stay in place. But right now, I feel like it's kind of we're kind of doing pushback again. We're just like, sometime, in a few years, we're gonna have solutions. But right now, we're doing everything we can and everything. So I don't know. It sounds like bullshit to me. But so that's one for sure, and I think you'd agree for sure. Environment is a massive one.
Did you know there's people? Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, for sure. Go for it.
There's people in this world who don't believe in climate change.
Oh yeah, for sure. Of course. Like in some ways, I can understand how they rationalize it. They're just like, there's been mass extinctions of everything in the past, or it's just like history repeating itself. And I guess so. But the thing is, the way the Earth was getting hotter was just like it got spiked by our evolution of with the arrival of capitalism, for sure. Like carbon emissions have become greater and greater since we started producing, like mass producing stuff, basically. And that goes back 100 years ago or so, something like that. So when you look at the bigger timeline of how, since how much time humans have evolved on Earth, and the little time in which we've kind of, evolved so quickly, I guess. That's the word I'm trying to say, but it's like, I don't know how to phrase it better, but you can see that we've evolved so quickly, and the Earth cannot keep us with keep. I lost the word again.
No, that's fine. Something I've noticed that you're quite motivated.
Regards to what?
To work on your passions.
Oh, for sure.
And to be more precise, you want to make movies, and that is something I feel like you think about every single day.
Yeah, I do.
How are you so motivated? Because your output also shows, because in the next couple of years, you're filming a full-length movie.
Yes, for sure. That's in the plans. That's in the works.
How many movies have you put out?
Right now,
As a 20-year-old?
As a 20-year-old, I'm writing my 9th movie right now.
You're writing your 9th movie?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the output shows, right? So how are you able to have that level of consistency and motivation?
It's going to sound weird, but I guess it's just I'm afraid.
Of Jesus?
Yes, terribly so. No, I just mean I'm afraid of but it's a good fear. It's an healthy fear, for sure. It's kind of a good stress too. The fear and the stress of not making it, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's like, once you realize that you want to go into the arts, there's this this concept is weird, because like it's something that doesn't really apply to other fields of work, basically. Because in arts, no one can help you. It's you against yourself. And if you don't put out, if you don't improve, if you don't find ways to motivate you to ultimately like produce stuff, nothing's gonna come of it. you need to put yourself out there. You need to try and improve yourself in every way you can. You need to jump on every single opportunity, because that's the only thing that differentiates people that make it in the arts and people who don't. It's just people that try so hard to eventually reach
reach the
state in
the
which
goal,
the end goal, to reach
right?
their goals,
The end goal,
basically. And in my situation, I guess it would be the way I see it is to become a working director. I need to show people what I'm capable of, right? And I won't wait. And that's the thing with the college life. The college I attended only required us, I think, on the 2 years I did it in 3, but like the program is 2 years, right? And they had us only do 2 to 3 movies in 2 years. And by movies, I mean short films. So like, I guess if you're a normal student and you're just trying to get by and you chose cinema because you're not really passionate about it and you thought it would be easy, in some ways it's kind of a good way, you know, you just like do your 2 little projects and you're done with it. But for me, I never really respected those numbers, you know, because I'm writing my 9th movie and I started Cégep when I was 18 years old. So yeah, I've always jumped on the opportunity to just produce and make more movies, and just like even unwritten, like unfinished movies. I've written a ton of scripts that are just sleeping in my computer and they're just there, and eventually I'll work back on them, or I can just produce one if I'm happy with it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of always being on the lookout to for an opportunity to create something, to better yourself.
What do you mean by it's always you versus you?
What I mean by that is I've struggled, and I still struggle with that. It's my biggest enemy, procrastination. It's terrible, eh? What a bitch. Fucking sucks, dude. So procrastinations, like tendencies, basically. This is what I mean by you versus you, since you're just fighting yourself mentally. It's like and especially at our age, there's like so much shit going on in our life. Like it's a fucking mental clusterfuck. Like you need to find the energy and the mental state
to do shit.
That is productive and positive to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not always possible with social life, school, like family, like
work
for sure, love life. There's like always something that can get in the way. But your role as a creative is to find a moment in your very busy week to allow yourself to create. And I don't mean by create like writing a 2-hour script for a movie. It's just like, it can be anything. Like write a little something and it'll get your brain going, and then you just work on your habits, and it creates like this rhythm of this habit of creating like every week or every day, like depends, whatever works. You know what I mean?
What do you think procrastination is?
God,
from your perspective.
From my perspective, well, I know from other people's perspectives, it can be seen as fear of like I can't do this, or it won't be good enough if I do try to tackle it. But for me, procrastination has always come in the form of laziness.
Okay.
Laziness or a lack of energy, for sure. I've been in the past very mentally drained by a lot of events, like most of us, I guess. Events of my life, like socially, like we talked about, issues, and sometimes I feel like it's just hard to kick yourself in the butt to just like put yourself together and keep moving forward with it. You know, like keep your eyes on the prize and just like remind yourself that you're doing this for a reason, and yes, it may hurt right now, but you just need to keep your head up and do your shit, because in the end, future you is going to thank you for it.
There's been times in your life where you were not able to, where it was super hard for you to keep your head up and create, because I feel like it's so mentally draining, because it's a lot, I feel like it's a lot easier to just be able to, work, do your monotonous tasks like data entry and fucking Excel shit and all that.
Yeah.
When it comes time to create, you have to think.
Yeah,
It
because it's
requires
so
a lot of
abstract.
energy.
Yeah, it's the abstraction of it that fucks you up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how were you able to still create and be creative when you were not in the best headspace, internally and externally?
I use shortcuts in my brain. I feel like this only applies, or it may apply to other people, but I feel like this only applies to me because everyone has their own brains.
Yeah,
Whoa,
and tendencies.
crazy, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like the best way to move forward as an artist, as a working artist or a growing artist or a student in arts, it's just understanding how your creative habits work, right? And for me, I knew I needed shortcuts. And what I mean by shortcuts is that
Going for walks.
for sure, but it mostly came in the form of seeds.
Seeds.
Seeds. Seeds, yeah, like idea seeds. What I mean by that is that I'm commuting a lot, right? Since I live on the stupid South Shore and everything. So through those hours, those lost hours, those hours I will never see again of commuting, I metabolize those with writing. So what I mean by that is just I can look outside the window and then bam, I get hit with an idea. I just write, I puke a sentence, and it just stays there in my phone, in my notes. And eventually, when I feel creative, I can just like look back and scroll for inspiration. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's ass, but at least I got it out.
Okay.
So it creates this kind of this endless page of inspiration I can just look back on whenever I feel like I need something, right?
Kind of like a muscle memory?
For sure. And in my case, it's just that I have really bad memory when it comes to that stuff because it's so random. Like art ideas are so random.
Yep.
So you just need, in my case, I just always need to take notes and put it down, because then or else I'll lose it forever. And sometimes it's not a good thing. It could be like your next best idea you've ever had, and you just need to write it down. For instance, the last movie I talked to you about, the Rose Nevros thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this idea has been staying in the form of a seed in my phone for like 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah, something like that. Just like, it was just there. And it really wasn't the same thing. I really deformed it into something greater. But nonetheless, this movie evolved from an idea I've had, like going out of the shower or something. It's just, I puked it in my phone, and then it bloomed into something that I'm really proud of today. See what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So it's I use those as crutches and shortcuts to get myself creating.
Usually now when you commute, you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you have trained yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
With music, though. Because, my relationship with creating and music is really intertwined as well. Mm-hmm. So I kind of create this... I've been able to create this space, this mental space that I can take everywhere with me. So I'm really grateful for that. It was worthwhile to push myself and everything.
What have creative projects done for your mental health? So by that, what I mean is you working on creative projects, being a creative.
Yeah.
What has that done for your mental health?
Loads. It's gonna sound crazy, but I have a better idea of who I am and who I want to be because of that. Especially like choosing a field in which you want to work at our age is like one of the biggest things going on in our lives. And for me, I'm just so grateful today that I'm 20 years old and I know what I want to do with my life. And I'll be comfortable like spending the rest of my life doing that, which is movies basically. And of course I'll work on other projects on the side, but this is my main thing. And in a way, I always knew that it was my main thing for a while now, since I was very little.
Like how young?
Probably 10 or 12. Wow. But I wanted to be an actor. And I guess this dream of mine isn't completely gone. I have 9 years of professional formation in acting.
What does that mean?
Basically means that I've taken courses and professional knowledge on shoots as an actor and as an extra too. So I kind of have this parallel portfolio of acting. But right now I'm really, really focused and invested in my director career. Just because I found out recently, well, a few years ago, that I really love sharing and telling stories.
What does a film director do?
So they decide the look of it, they decide who's going to play in it, they decide if they want to tweak the script, you know. So it really is the first step. But in the end, you could give it the same script, just like in my example, you could give the same script to 100 directors and you would have 100 totally different movies. That's what the beauty of cinema is, basically. It's just, cinema for me is just a way of sharing what is our truth, what is real for us. Because we all have different references. Totally different living experiences. So in that way, subconsciously or consciously, those events that have happened to us or those same references, they totally impact in a 1-to-1 ratio what we input out as artists. It totally changes the way we see, for instance, a breakup scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. To me, it's like, as a clothing brand owner, it would be the creative director, right? And then, for example, the stylist.
Yeah.
And then the art director.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's totally the same thing. I kind of see it like that. Yeah. So I guess this is kind of reminiscent in most art projects, for sure. It's the concept that anyone could look at one idea and make it his own. That's basically it. That's cinema for you.
What is your favorite director of all time?
If there's one thing you don't need to ask to someone who loves cinema, it's that. And your favorite movie would be an even worse question.
Okay.
But I'll try to answer for
someone
sure.
who has inspired you a lot.
Then again, it's a list of people. Fuck. Do you mean like
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill?
Mid-90s is pretty fire.
I guess so. It is in my list of favorite movies. I thought you were talking to me about his acting skills in 21 Jump Street or whatever. It's the first thing that popped up.
I see. I love Jonah Hill.
Me too, man. He's a really good director. In mid-90s was a pristine movie for sure. So someone that has inspired me would be very cliche, but Quentin Tarantino, as much of a weird and bad person he can be or is, I feel like I can't really look away from what he has achieved in the art form of cinema. Visually, his art is always striking. The emotions are poignant. I don't feel like it can be overlooked. And I will say that I think he has a lot of talent, despite his obvious flaws as a person, as a human being. But so yeah, I guess his art style really draws my eye. I would also say Nicholas Winding Refn, which is another great director. Not all of his movies are great, because cinema directors. Shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
Can't always win them all. So,
Right.
and it's gonna sound very cliche again, but one of the movies of his that inspired me a lot is the movie Drive that came out in 2011. Have you seen that? You should. You should.
I have not.
You should, because the dialogue is so masterfully crafted. It's like the bare minimum of dialogue. Most of the characters are very silent, and it's a big part of the movie, in the way that exposition is used very sparsely, and it creates those really intense silence moments, basically, where you just are there physically in the scene with characters, and you're just left to think about their mental state or what's going to happen next and everything. So I guess the cinematography too could be praised for sure in said movie, Drive, 2011. But
I would like to watch it with you.
yeah, we could do that. We could do that for sure. You know who's in it? Does it bring a picture to mind when I say that movie? It's the one with Ryan Gosling. He has a white satin jacket with a Scorpio on it. No?
I don't watch movies.
It's not for everyone. But to create another tangent with the movie Drive, I guess the one style that inspires me the most is neo-noir.
It's a style.
It's a style. It's a genre. Yeah.
So
Neo-noir.
what is that?
Neo-noir is basically capturing the darker side of our society. It's based on the dark psychological aspects of the human brain. I can name a few that you maybe know. There's American Psycho, that is a very prominent one in the neo-noir genre. There's what's it called, Nightcrawler, which is another one with what's his face, Jake Gyllenhaal, and I guess Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve is kind of fitting in that one category too. So it kind of always is thrillers or psychological dramas, and like I said earlier, this is kind of my niche. I really like those movies, and I like writing them, and I find great richness to them for sure. Like, I feel like they're very profound. Not to say that other genres are less profound. I feel like it's what calls me right now, and for sure my style will evolve, and I'll move on from neo-noir eventually, and hopefully soon, so I can learn other things. But yeah, right now I'm really celebrating it for sure.
One last question.
Go for it.
What is the best advice you got that helped you as a creative, and something you would like to let other creatives know?
God, that's a hard one.
No, you think about it. Yeah,
Could you repeat that one more time?
absolutely. What is the best advice you got that helped you as a creative, and something you would like to let other creatives know?
Okay. Right on. I feel like to create, we first, as creatives, have to understand ourselves, right? Because our workspace is our brains. It's how it is. It's like you have to, juggle with ideas. You have to come to terms with failure of yourself or past projects and everything, so in order to create a workflow that works for you. So I would say focusing on trying to find tips and tricks that work for you. There's not one creative in this world that I've followed like this one workflow that works for everyone, because it doesn't exist. Flash News, it just doesn't. It's like you have to tailor yourself one for yourself. Basically, you have to make it your own. Like whatever works for you, you stick to that, and you try to build on it and find other patterns that work, and you just move on from there for sure. And what I'd like to say to other creatives, Jesus, bless this cough for sure.
I guess so. I had to take it.
As you should. As you should. Don't apologize. You're on your podcast, my friend. You can cough as much as you want. Stop coughing. Stop coughing. No, but what I'd like to leave other directors with, I don't know.
Drink water.
Drink water, yeah. Drink water is amazing. H2O, man.
What else? Sleep more.
Sleep more, for sure. I could use some more sleep, for sure. I guess, you know what? I guess I'd say, this is really tough. It's a nice question. It's so simple, yet so complex. For me to answer, at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's what everyone kind of says. For a reason, right? Because
yeah, for sure.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, I think we need to stop comparing ourselves with our peers and trying to focus on understanding what we want as creatives, right? People that want to work in the industry need to realize that some producers or production companies don't want to see some impersonation of another director, another style. They don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see, who the fuck are you? What can you bring us? And how are you unique? Why should we give you our funds? Right?
Yeah.
So creatives, or more specifically directors, need to understand that we need to basically brand ourselves. We need to be 200% focused on building a persona and a brand that is reminiscent and basically embodies who the hell we are, in order to attract those contracts and eventually show those people that we have something different to bring to the table and that you can trust us. Because it all comes down to this: first impressions and trust.
How would you describe your style?
God.
Well, at the moment, I guess.
Yeah, I would describe it as, I haven't found it yet. I'm trying a lot of things. I guess there's some pieces that I've really made my own in the building blocks of a movie, for sure. There's some elements that I know I like. Others I know I dislike or hate full on. But you know what? I think I'll have to push back that question to eventually another discussion like this one. Cause,
I would appreciate that.
Yeah, let's call back
it's all
on
about
it
honesty.
in a few years. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Leo, if other creatives want to get in touch with you and start a conversation, what are some of the easiest ways?
I guess it would be through Instagram. I guess it's kind of weird, but it's my only social media I kind of use. So yeah, Instagram, man.
Leo_Newhouse.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Can't miss it.
And, extremely grateful that you came here.
Likewise, grateful to have had this discussion and the chance to discuss with you furthermore on that, for sure.
Absolutely, and I'm very appreciative of our relationship. And,
likewise, man.
Yeah, man. I think we'll do great things together.
Great
and
things will come
separately
of
as
this.
well.
Yeah.
Someone else that you think I should have a conversation with?
Mm-hmm. It's his name is Nolan.
Nolan.
Okay. Babin. He's a drawer. He draws. He's a great visual artist. He's so talented.
And he lives in Montreal?
He does. I was at his place yesterday night getting hammered. But yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful indeed.
I would love to have a conversation with him.
He's amazing. He's so passionate about everything. And you know what? I actually talked to him about this podcast today. And I said I'd talk to you about him, and he's stoked about it. So
that is beautiful.
I think he's just waiting on your text now. So
all right. Well, I hope I can build a greater relationship with him, and I hope that conversation can lead some value. Yeah.
Maybe it will. Maybe some people get inspired by my mumbo jumbo of words that I stuck together with my, my my hopeless capacity to speak English.
No. I think you're a better communicator than I am.
Well,
Just putting
I'm
it out
fighting
there.
my French side. Some words just get stuck on the way out, I guess.
Beautiful.
That's
Well,
the way it is.
we'll end it here then.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, my friend.
Of course. And this is us shaking our hand.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.